ready now?
Hold on, just about. There we are. Yep, it's got us like this must be cool. Okay, yeah, we're live.
Hello and welcome to BookCAST. I'm Dana and this is my dad Keith.
Hello.
And we love books. We love talking about books. And we are currently in the middle of reading Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Um, Welcome to episode 10. This is we have covered a lot more chapters this go around than we usually do because we usually do 4 chapters. But this time we did what, 12
Yeah, episodes
chapters?
9 through 20.
Chapters, no, chapters
12,
nine
12,
through 20, and there are
12 of
only
them.
40 chapters in the book.
So we're at the halfway mark after tonight.
Yeah. Um, when we left off last time, Wade had just gotten the copper key after defeating Acerak, who was really Anorak disguised. Um, he had just gotten the copper key after defeating Acerak in a game of joust. And he was fixing to leave to head to his next destination once because he quickly figured out the next riddle. And as he was about to leave, somebody stopped him.
Yes, I wonder who that
And
was.
so that's what the beginning of chapter 9.
Yep, yep. He's about to turn to leave the dungeon when another avatar blocks his exit from the dungeon. And it just so happens that it's Artemis.
His longtime crush
Big
in
time.
virtual person, right there.
So
Um,
his world just stopped. He is
yep.
not going another foot because he has an opportunity to talk to Artemis. You know he's
Mm-hmm.
not going to move.
Yep. He definitely goes head over heels. Like he has to he has to take a moment, calm himself down, and remind himself that just because her avatar is a girl doesn't mean that she's a girl in real life. She could be some some dude living in his mama's basement named Chuck
Yep.
or whatever.
Some weird
Um,
old pervert can't ever tell, so you have to be really careful. And he realizes that, but boy, does he ever want to believe that she's real. That she's real. Even in previous chapters where they kind of got into the whole Artemis thing, he really thinks in his head that her avatar is just like she looks in real life. He just everything he puts together, it's like all positive. Yes, she's
yeah.
perfect. There's no flaws. She's absolutely the person that he is hoping she would be.
Yep. And now he gets to meet her.
At least in game, he's not meeting her, but this is the first time he
Yeah,
gets to
in
chat and
game.
talk with her, which is a big deal. That's a
Mm.
pretty big deal. So they start having a conversation and introduce each other and all that, and um, come to find out through the course of this conversation that Artemis was actually the first one to reach the dungeon. She reached it probably, I forget if it's weeks or months.
No, weeks.
It was
She
just
at
a few
first
weeks.
she says she's been there for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's it.
She'd been there for 3 weeks.
Right.
So,
And she has not
um,
been able to defeat the Lich yet. So
no.
and just just simply just a quick overview that she has of Parzival. She sees that he's got some newbie equipment that's located within that dungeon. So she knows, and she can't even fathom that he would have beat the Lich at all. So she figures that he got defeated. He's low on hit points. She offers to heal him up with hit points, the whole 9 yards, because
And he
she just
plays along,
assumes there's no way this guy is going to have been able to beat the Lich. Yeah,
which
oh
is
yeah.
pretty cocky of her to think that just because she couldn't beat it that somebody else couldn't either. But I mean,
But you get
Wade
that
is
though
pretty
because
special.
she's
So,
she's an experienced player that's been around the game for a while, and so she knows in the history of her playing, no lobby newbie like this guy ever had a chance to beat the Lich.
Because he's only, well, right now he's 10th level because he got some experience points going through the dungeon. He started off at 3rd level before he entered the dungeon. So he's like a little peon compared to what Acerate could dish out. And,
Yeah, because
you know,
she's Artemis is like level 55 at this point, and
mm-hmm.
and she barely survived getting out of there. With the Lich not
Yeah,
killing her, which was surprising because you would figure the Lich would be able to kill her easily, but he didn't.
and you also find out what happens to those who lose Joust.
Yeah, yeah, he kills him
So,
or tries to kill him anyway.
yeah, he
Well,
attacks or something.
yeah, he attacks him and he kills him. I mean, that's the whole point
Yeah.
of it. So there's
And if you're not
there's
high enough
probably more
level,
Gunters. There's probably more Gunters besides these two that have gotten that far but haven't been able to kill the Lich. And maybe there isn't. I don't know.
no,
Remember,
actually, Artemis says that she's the first one to get there. She hasn't seen anybody else.
until Parzival this night. Yeah,
Yeah, that's why she was so interested in talking to him because he's the only other Gunter she came across in this dungeon.
that's true.
And
That's true.
so he kind of plays along and he lies and pretty much kind of agrees that he lost and man, that lich was tough, kind of thing, because she doesn't know that he has the key. So he plays it off because even though he has a huge crush on her, it's, not wise for him to reveal that he got the key just yet.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be smart of him, that's for sure.
Um, and she tries to convince him to, like, you know, stay because he's kind of in a rush to go. And
Well, yeah, I mean, he wants to get to the next portion because in his mind, he's already figured out the next part of the puzzle and figured out where the first gate might be. So,
so she's like, well, it resets at midnight. You can stay with me, and we can see what happens when two avatars show up in the to fight Acerach. And he's like, oh no, you know what? I'll let you have this one, and I'll come back, that kind of thing. Um,
yeah.
and they flirt a little bit. Well, Wade kind of flirts with her. He's very enchanted with her because at one point, she apologizes for trash talking him because she called him like a little noob or something like that. She actually insulted him at one point and gave him some trash talk.
Yeah, there was a little bit of trash talk back and forth between the two of them. I mean,
And then she
Wade was throwing just
apologized.
as much as she was.
And then she does this little thing where she like zips her lips. She mimes zipping her lips and throwing away the key, and he catches it and unlocks her lips, and there, he makes her laugh, and he's so, he's just enamored with her laughter, and just it's the whole interaction is very adorable, very like, oh, look these little nerds,
Yeah,
and they
what was that?
he pretty much, yeah, he even says like, uh when she understands the meaning of his avatar name Percival, like he's like, all right, where's the ring? I'm ready to get married. He's going in so deep already. It's like, dude, you don't even know this chick and you're ready to put a ring on it.
Well, but I think it's one of the first people besides Ace that really gets who he is and understands him. And they once they exchange the contact cards, which I mean, she really liked his because it was an Atari 2600 adventure cartridge. They
Yeah,
really and hers was designed for made like her avatar, but she made it look like a Star Wars character. I think.
yeah. Well, I guess it was a brand of Star Wars action figures back in the day. Like it's called Kenner, and
Yep,
she
I had a
made
bunch
the
of them.
yeah, she made her contact card because apparently in the game you can make your contact card look like anything. So she made hers look like a Kenner Star Wars action figure, but it was her avatar. And yeah, Parzival's looked like an Atari 2600 adventure cartridge.
Yep.
So they exchanged contact cards.
And Parzival's sitting here thinking he's about ready to go. So he's going to
Yeah.
try to move a little bit further. When he tries to leave again, she starts to get suspicious.
Yeah,
So
like why is he
she
trying to leave so
so
quickly?
she checks the scorecard, and he can see that she's doing something on her screen, but he can't see what until she turns it around and shows him, and she calls him a lying bastard because she discovers that he has passed the first part of the quest.
Yeah, he's like the first gunter to ever end up on the scoreboard. So and she gets mad, but she's not really mad at him for lying. She's mad at herself, and then she starts rambling about, I've been here 5 weeks, and I've been trying to defeat this guy. You get him on your first try, and he's like,
Wait,
didn't you say it was
five,
three
3
weeks?
weeks? She said, that's not
Like,
the point.
that's not the point.
Yeah,
The
she's
point
all
is.
upset.
So even she did a little bit of lying to kind of make it seem like she hadn't been there that long, but she had been there for a little over a month. So, like, oh, you got it on your first try. She was just, and then they're they're still nice to each other. She's not really like pissed. She's more mad at herself than anything, which I thought was pretty cool. Instead of being all like, oh man, I cannot believe and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but the true side of her competitiveness comes out because she actually puts a blocking spell that doesn't allow him to move any further. So he's literally stuck until the spell dissipates, which will be right after midnight when it resets. So he's going to have to go all back through the traps, which gives her time to go back in, possibly defeat Asarak again, or this time, and delay him even further so that she can try to catch up a little bit.
Yeah,
Because it's
she
going to take
puts
him a
them.
little over an hour, I think, to get back through and exit the quest now because everything's going to have reset. So that's
Yeah,
pretty evil, and he calls her evil. He
yeah,
tells
he
her that
does.
she's evil.
And she's like chaotic neutral sugar.
I know that. To me, I thought that was cooler than the whole key unlocking the mouth. I thought that
I
was
know.
really
I
cool.
thought that was so cool. But yeah, she threw up that barrier pretty quickly. Like he didn't really have time to react, so he has to sit there with
And just
her,
wait it out. Yeah.
wait it out because she's like, well, it'll reset at midnight, and that will give her time to defeat Asarak. But they spend those few minutes talking about what they would do with the money were they
Yep.
to win the contest.
That's exactly right. Yep.
And up until this point, like we didn't know what Wade was going to do with the money. So
But
now we
but
finally get to see what he wants to do.
but I don't think he really ever really thought about it, even though he says he had some conversations with Ace about it. He just wants to have nice stuff, things that he's never had before. Most people, that's how they're going to think. So I think Artemis's plans are, I don't know, it makes her seem like more of a deep and caring type of person because of what she would want to do with it.
Yeah, she's got plans. She plans on trying to solve the hunger problem, and
Mm-hmm.
she plans on trying to fix the real world. But Wade, he wants to buy all kinds of cool stuff, but he also talks about just getting, a spaceship and
Yeah,
getting
getting
like the
off the
smartest
planet.
people. He's like getting the smartest people on this spaceship and just getting off the planet. She's like, you're just gonna run away? You're not gonna try to fix the problem
No,
instead?
yeah, no. And he said no. He thinks the planet's dead anyway. So
Yeah,
why fix it?
so you get to see a little how they're a little bit opposite in their thinking when it comes to what to do with the money.
Yeah.
So, and then the chapter ends with midnight, it's midnight, and then
So the Tomb of
Acer,
Horrors resets. The whole thing
yeah,
resets. So Asarak's back on the throne. All the traps and monsters are reset back where Wade has to actually, or Parzival has to go back through all of that.
but right before he leaves,
Yep.
he actually gives her advice. He
I
tells
still don't
her
know why he did that. That's just stupid. He's
because his
letting
head.
He's letting the girl get to his head. See, that's what I don't like about you doggone women. Y'all got us wrapped around y'all fingers, and that's just not right. We don't do
Yeah,
that to y'all.
and you
Y'all
have
ain't
to
right.
think, if it would have been H, would he have done that for H in that moment? I don't know. Maybe. Well, he's a pretty nice person, you
I don't
know.
know. He might, because he was so close to H, he probably would have been compelled to help H. But they did have an understanding that they're competitors.
Mhm.
They're friends, but they didn't give each other a lot of advice on and they rarely talked a whole lot about the actual contest itself. They talked about what they might do with some of the money if they won, but they didn't give each other details or anything like that. And they constantly told each other, I wouldn't tell you anything even if I knew. And they respected that about each other because that's part of the gameplay.
But yet, here we go. You
That
know, he
son of a
gives he
gun.
gives Artemis like, "Oh, play on the other side. Play on the other side. Play on the left side."
The boy's stupid. That's what he is. He's
And
stupid.
she's like, like, "Are you playing me?" But she takes that advice.
Yeah, he
And that's
notices
when
that because when they're at the top of the dais, he sees them switch sides right before they
mhm.
start to play.
And then he heads out. And that's
And the other thing too that I remember in that part, and I know we didn't put this in the blog, but I mean we can't put everything. Um, he did when Asarak asked her, you know what what do you seek here? He couldn't hear what she told him, and they pointed that out in the book that he tried to hear, but he couldn't hear what she told him. But he
oh
did
god.
notice that they switched sides, so she followed his advice. So
Yeah.
obviously, she must trust him to a certain extent because she felt like the information he gave her was true. Otherwise, why switch?
Yeah, she's a very adorable character. She's not all like, "Oh, look at me, I'm badass," you know. She's very, sweet. I mean, she is badass, but she doesn't like try hard. She's giggly and she's nerdy and she's cute. I really like her a
Well,
lot.
she is, and I mean, and obviously, her character has a big heart and wants to help everyone outside of the contest piece portion of it, because I mean, she would take the money and try to feed the entire world. Wade wasn't going to do that. That was the last thing on his mind. He just wanted shit. He said, "Give me my stuff. I got
And if
things I want."
anything, this whole interaction just made him like her a whole lot more. This whole interaction just made him like her a whole lot more.
Oh, I think that's evident. Well, the part
So,
that sold him was the fact that she's the only person that understood his character. She knows
yeah.
where it came from.
Yeah, she knew the history behind the name Parsival.
Yep. And that just totally freaked him out. He's done. He's got wedding bells
That's
on
it.
his mind.
So, it takes him about an hour to get out of the dungeon. And I think in the whole time that he's got the scoreboard up just so he knows when Artemis, beats it, or if she'll beat
Yeah, he
Azarak.
starts monitoring it now.
So he gets out of the dungeon
And
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 he
we're in
all of a
chapter
sudden
10 at this point, by the way. Now we moved on from chapter 9 to chapter 10.
yeah, so chapter 10 he gets out of the dungeon and he's bombarded with like messages and calls and stuff because apparently communication was cut off in the dungeon. But H has been trying to get in touch with him because his name is all over the place now. He's the first Gunter to end up on the scoreboard, so now everyone's trying to get in touch with him.
But
So
mostly H. H is probably trying to call him over a dozen times, left messages, and in fact, the second he walks out, H is trying to call him again as soon as he walks out. So, but he just kind of sends him a text message telling him he'll call him later, I believe.
yep. And then he rushes to he has enough money now to actually leave the planet.
Yeah, he can
So
pay the teleportation fees.
he's able to get to Middletown planet, which is basically the planet that Holiday created to be just like his hometown, his childhood hometown.
Middletown, Ohio. Yep.
So it's an entire planet of like 256 copies of this one town. So that way gunters weren't like fighting over, that they wouldn't fight over the location and whatnot. So
Yep. And it was going to take him probably about an hour to get there, even teleporting. So he had to hurry up because he didn't think he was going to have that much time ahead of Artemis once
yeah,
she if she figured out the and beat the Lich.
well, like once he's on the planet, he gets the notification that she has the key. So he knows that he has, he's like, oh, she's got the key. So now he has to hightail it to Holiday's house to get to the next stage of the of the first gate. There's like so many layers to this contest. It's like, oh, you have to figure out the first riddle and get to the first area, and then you have to figure out the second riddle to get to the second area, and then you clear the first gate. I mean, there's so many like,
Yep. So there, yeah, like you said, 256 copies of Middletown, Ohio. The surface of the planet is basically always a specific time frame, which is a late autumn afternoon in 1986, and that just so happens to be a couple of years before you were born, and that's right about the time your mom and I were in the process of getting married.
I thought about that. I wasn't quite sure because I remember y'all
No,
graduated high school what
85,
85.
right? And then we
Yeah.
started dating for the second time in May of 1986. So that's right before this summertime break, autumn break that you're talking about. And the autumn portion, that's about the time because we moved in probably August and got married November the 8th of that year. So
And then
it's almost fits in perfectly with our real world lifetime here, which I thought was
yeah.
pretty cool.
So so Artemis gets the key, but she's still not first place. Because Wade actually got extra points for being the first person to find the key. So she's only in second place.
But he does get the notification that she has the copper key, and
Yep.
I think he gets a thousand extra points because he's at ten
Yeah.
thousand, she's at nine, I believe, at this point. I don't remember the
Yeah.
exact scoring, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
Let me see. This is chapter 10. I should have. Man, we really covering a lot of chapters tonight, ain't we? Whose idea was this?
I think it was mine. Well, it was you're like, "Oh, we could get up to 20." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it. Let's go ahead."
I think it's the 9,000. I guess it really doesn't matter, but
No, because it'll
yeah, yeah. He was at 10,000. She's at 9,000 at this point right now because he hasn't cleared the gate yet.
no, so he realizes he has even less time because he doesn't know how long it's going to take her to figure out the next riddle.
Oh, and but
So
he knows she's smart. She's probably already figured it out. She's probably already on her way to
so
Middletown. So he's not taking that for granted. He knows
no,
how
so he
smart she is.
hightails it.
Oh
He
yeah.
hightails it to the nearest Middletown, Ohio setting and rushes to Holiday's home.
Yep.
And it's an exact recreation of Holiday's childhood home, like down to the most minute details. And he makes sure that the particular house that he chose was empty of all other avatars.
Yeah.
And he kind of and he gets a chance to explore it a little bit because he had only seen screenshots of it because he never had the chance to go there before. But now he's actually there, like, virtually, but still he's there. So he takes a moment and he like looks around and um
Yep. Yep.
Holiday's room is like full
Full of all
of,
kind of cool stuff.
yeah, all kind of stuff. Posters and comics and Dungeons and Dragons books.
Dragon magazine. Yep. And there were Pink Floyd posters, Rush posters, Journey. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
it could have been my room.
I didn't put down the type of computer that Holiday had because it was, look, I love technology. I love it. But I am not very tech savvy, and that was, I will admit, um that was a lot of words, okay? That was like too much.
Um, he wanted Halliday originally had asked his parents for a Commodore 64, but instead they gave him a TRS 80 from Radio Shack, which is a little bit lower in cost. Those were a little bit cheaper than the Commodore 64s. At the time, the Commodore 64s were the Mac Daddies, but the TRS 80s is what most people had because it was cheaper and that's what most people could afford. So that's what Halliday ended up getting for Christmas. The Christmas before this night, there was Christmas of 1985 because this is autumn of '86. So it's a TRS 80 that he's got right there.
And when he explained the setup, look, I'm sure you could probably imagine the setup of that computer, but I
Yeah,
couldn't.
my
I
friends,
couldn't at all.
the ones that Barrett were friends with as well, they actually had a TRS 80, and it came with a little cassette recorder that would hook up to the computer, and that was how you did the programming. The programming
Okay,
was on a
see.
cassette tape by sound. That's how they were designed. And it was weird because the keyboard was built into the computer. The keyboards weren't separate at the time. When you picked up the keyboard like this, you were
The
actually
computer.
the computer was like built into it right here, and everything plugged into the back of it, and it plugged into a either a color or a black and white television set.
Ugh, that sounds ridiculously complicated to me.
But at
Like,
the
that's a lot of
time,
parts.
look, your eyes were like this. It was so fascinating. I mean, we were all into it, and we used to. I know we're getting outside the realm of the blog, but we used to play what were called mud games on those, and they're basically text-based adventure RPG games where you would read the story, you would type in what you wanted to do, and it would give you the results of that. They
Did
were
they talk about
amazing.
they talked about that in the book, didn't he? He talked about that in the book at one point.
I don't remember so far. I really don't.
But
I don't know. But those mud games, and believe it or not, you can actually still play mud games on the internet today because they have some based on the Harry Potter world. Just saying. Yes, I still look at some of the mud game stuff that's out there. It's nostalgic. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love this particular story. Like I've told you before in the last blog, this is like reliving my childhood. I'm like a little like a little schoolgirl. Anyway,
Well,
anyway,
well,
there besides the
uh,
posters and all that stuff, there was
Wade,
a shoebox on the side of the thing, and it had a bunch of different games in it. There was like 8 or 9 different games in it, and one of the games in that shoebox was the Dungeons of Daggerath.
which is the game that he needs to play to get to the next part of the hunt.
Yep.
So starts it up, and then there's a jam box in Holiday's room that starts playing music. So Wade gets the idea that I'm on the right track because, look, that started up. And he knows from previous, like, from reading all of the, like, forums and stuff, that that hasn't happened before for other gunters who have all been to Holiday's room and searched it. It's like, that's so funny. It was right there all along.
That is true.
Um, the music that is played. at first is music from Conan the Barbarian, the series, right? The TV series. I always thought it was a movie, but there must have been a Conan the Barbarian series.
There was a Conan the Barbarian cartoon series. Yes. Yeah, there
Okay.
was. Yeah.
So yeah, the jam box starts playing music from Conan the Barbarian and Lady Hawk. I loved that movie, Lady Hawk. Um, so he plays through the game for the whole night and beats it in the morning. And once he beats it, Holiday has this dot matrix printer
Uh-huh.
that prints out the words, "Congratulations, you have opened the first gate." And that's where the gate all of a sudden appears where this War Games poster had been. Now, I want to see that movie because from the way the description is the way that he talks about it in the
Yeah.
next chapter, it seems like it'd be an interesting movie to watch, and I'm sure it'd be cheesy by now, but
Wait, you talking about Conan or Lady Hawk? I'm sorry, Mama had walked in.
well,
Which one you haven't seen?
I haven't seen. No, I saw Lady Hawk.
I was
No,
gonna
War
say.
Games.
Oh no, War Games?
Yes.
War Games is a phenomenal movie. It's Matthew Broderick, but it is really, really fantastic.
Well, I looked it up, and I'm probably gonna try to find like maybe try to find it so I could watch it. Cause
I'm actually been thinking about getting a copy of it just because I read about it in this book. That is not a game.
I
That
know.
is not a movie I own yet. Now we have Lady Hawk, I think. We don't. Oh, both of them are coming by the end of the week. I tell you
'Cause
what. I tell you what. If I get those two this week, we're watching them when we get there next weekend.
sounds good to me.
We're
'Cause
gonna
I love
we
Lady
gonna we
Hawk,
gonna
but
watch War Games and Lady Hawk.
I'm gonna go look for it on Amazon.
Yeah, you can.
so
Yeah,
he
because
plays
they're gonna be
through.
fantastic. Those two good movies.
He
Oh,
plays through
I
the
want to
whole
shout out
game.
Electrical Skateboard, Jazz Trahacker, and then Trilogy are in the chat room. Welcome, guys. Thanks for watching. Sorry,
So
Dane. I just
yeah,
wanted to shout out to them real
no,
quick.
that's cool. So
But
yeah, he
yeah,
beats the game. He spends the whole night in his little van, and he beats Dungeons and Daggerath, and then he gets a little, you beat the first, you've opened the first gate, and apparently there was a War Games poster on the wall, and that poster disappeared, and then there's a gate that shows up in its place. Okay. So what he does is he takes his copper key and he opens the gate, and there's just stars, like a galaxy right in front of him, and he just jumps right in. And that's how chapter 10 ends, with him jumping right into the stars.
yeah, and it was kind of funny because the to get through the gate, having to live through the movie and work through all the different parts of the movie, he not only had to mimic the dialogue, but he also got extra points for mimicking the real world actions inside the
Yeah,
movie, which was really cool.
and that's what
Thank
that's
you.
pretty much what most of chapter
Dana
11
said
is
hi.
about. What did Mom say?
I didn't hear her. What?
Dana said hi.
She says Mama said hi.
Oh, tell her I said hi.
She says hi.
So yeah, that's what chapter 11 is about. Like, he has to play Matthew Broderick as that character David Lightman, and he has to go through, and he has a warning. So if he doesn't say the dialogue right when he's supposed to, he gets a warning, that says you get like 2 more chances or something. So he has to, but he knows all the dialogue by now, because of course it was one of Holiday's favorites. So he has watched it so many times that he can recite it line for line.
Oh yeah, he was totally calm and relaxed at that point because he says, "I got this." And he did
And
have to
he
try and hurry up and remember parts of the movie, but
and he also got extra points. He also got points for saying it in the exact same tone and inflection, like the lines the same way that Matthew Broderick said them, which that's pretty cool. Uh, um, and because of this, Wade actually says that later on, you know, more games are made like this one. You know, he said because of the first gate, it became popular to play through your favorite movies. So that made me think for a second, like I would totally sit and play through Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter,
Yeah, you would.
and I would have you just I would play. So I
And
would
I
just
forgot the
get.
key. He mentioned a nickname that they had given them in the book, but I forgot what they were called.
Oh yeah, I thought I had written that down.
It's all right. I don't remember it either, and I wouldn't even thought to write it down. But they gave him some kind of nickname.
Yeah, because of the way they're designed and stuff. But yeah, so a whole new type of video game gets created because of the first gate. And I could definitely think of plenty of movies or, movies that I would love to play through.
My first one is I played Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
that'd be me. That'd be my first movie. I'd be Jason.
No. No, for me it'd probably be Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or Valerian. I loved Valerian. That was a good movie.
That was actually I didn't think that movie was going to be good, but it ended up being okay
Um
because we watched it with you when we went in February, and then we just watched it again recently because I didn't remember seeing it with you guys until we started watching it. Then I said, "Oh yeah, we did watch this at Dana's."
Yes,
Yeah,
you
we
did.
did. We
You
did.
did.
Yeah, we watched it at your house.
Thanks for remembering, Dad.
Well, I did after I saw it. Mom was trying to tell me that we watched it, and I was arguing with her. No, we did not.
Y'all gave it to me for Christmas, and we watched it while y'all were here.
Yes, we did. I remembered eventually.
Anyways, Wade beats the first gate,
Yes.
okay? And upon beating the first gate, he gets another riddle. But at this point, he's been up for 24 hours, which we've all done that. At some point or another, stayed up all night playing one game. You know. So I can very much
Yes.
relate to how he's feeling at this point, where he has the next riddle, but he is just too tired to even think straight. And he checks. Now, when he exits the first gate and he ends up back in Holiday's room, and he checks the scoreboard, and he's still in first, and he has actually been given more points than he had before for completing the first gate.
Right. He got another 100,000 points.
So he is way at the top.
I think he gets 100,000 points. Um, he gets enough XP to take his character up to level 20, I think, or something. I don't remember what level.
Yeah, he
But
gets
his
a lot of
character,
XP.
his character levels up, and he gets more gold and all that as well.
Yes. So he is definitely in the span of 24 hours way better off than his character is way better off than he was before. You know, he went from level 3 to level 20 in like one night.
Yep.
Of course, I've done that on a few games before.
Yeah. So Wade is after he exits the gate, he's back in Halliday's bedroom. He's in first place now. He's got 110,000 points. So he takes one of the cars parked in the driveway at Halliday's house back to the bus station and teleports back to Ludus to drop off his stuff in his locker at school.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go.
So he leaves. Drops all of his stuff in his locker, and he logs out. But it's too late to go back to his aunt's house, so he just sleeps right in his hideout. He has a sleeping bag, and he just goes back to sleep. Well, he goes to sleep. And the chapter at the end of the chapter, we get to see Wade dreams. And in his dream, he's on a battlefield, and he's wearing armor, but that armor is made of paper, and he's holding an egg and a plastic sword, and he's surrounded by armies of Sixers and Gunter clans. And when the armies collide, he doesn't wake up until he's being torn apart in the dream. You know, because usually you wake up right before you die. No, he dreamt he was getting torn apart and the egg is taken from him. Which is a very foreshadowing dream. Very cryptic.
Yeah, it kind of is, huh?
I kind of, I mean, I put right there that it's probably some subconscious fears that he's expressing through his dream. You know, like, oh, what he has, you know, he's completed the first gate and he's the first Gunter to ever do it. And he's going to have, you know, Sixers and Gunters alike all gunning for his spot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So Archer is right there and he's looking at something and it's freaking me out.
It's not
And
freaking out.
Me and Alex watched a bunch
No
of
problem,
scary
Trilogy.
YouTube videos earlier. So I'm a little freaked out right now. What are you looking at?
It's there, Dana.
So anyway, chapter 12. Wade sleeps through his entire next day of school. He just sleeps throughout the whole day. He skips it because
12 hours
he's
of
out.
sleep. Oh, man, that's too much. I slept 7 hours last night, and it was too much for me. I have not been able to wake up today. And this, because it's almost 9 o'clock at night right now, this is actually decaffeinated coffee. My mama don't let me have regular coffee this late anymore, so
No, because
it's decaf.
you'd have heartburn and you'd stay up half the night. Archer,
What's wrong with that? I'll play video games.
you got work tomorrow though. Archer. Anyway,
Something creaky and crawly is gonna come up and get you.
don't say that. We watched a bunch of crazy, weird videos, me and Alex, earlier, and I'm a little freaked out right now, so.
Hey,
Anyways.
you know how it gets to him? Why you watching that crap with him? You know the kind of weird stuff he watches and he scares himself.
He really does.
He is hilarious with that crap. He really is. It's so funny. This dude watches the weirdest ghost and poltergeist videos online, and he'll read stories about the Skinwalker Ranch and all this kind of stuff
And
because he wants it all to be true, and yet he can't sleep. He scares himself. He'll take a shower and he'll scream like a girl in the shower. Yes, he does.
Like he goes walking with Archer on these trails. And he always makes sure he's back before nightfall because
he gets scared.
He gets scared. So
because I could see one of them skinwalkers jumping out at him at 8 o'clock at night, and he would cry.
And it's so funny because he has an overnight job, so he leaves in the middle of the night.
And look, where they live at, there is no lights at night. All right, because it's not popular. It's dark. It is really dark because there's nobody around, and it's creepy at night. I like it, but I'm sure Alex doesn't like having to drive through that at night.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm a little freaked out.
so Wade slept for 12 hours, slept through the whole day of school.
He wakes up and he's like, he feels like it was all just a dream, but it wasn't. Because you know the media, his avatar's name is all over the media. Okay, so he but he checks the scoreboard and he sees that Artemis also cleared the first gate while he was sleeping. But she's still in second place, so she didn't get nearly as high a score as he did. And now he's watching the media news feeds, and everyone in the media is suspecting that him and Artemis are working together, which upsets Wade a little because he's a solo Gunter. So when the media starts talking about him and Artemis working together, he switches to a different channel because he's a little annoyed.
Yeah.
And then he ends up on a channel where there is there's some press that there's a reporter that's actually talking to Ogden Morrow, Holiday's best friend and business partner. They created gregarious systems together. And they created the Oasis together. So there's a reporter interviewing Ogden, and the whole interview is so funny because Morrow does not care about press at all. He does not like these people, and these reporters are actually working for that evil corporation, IOI.
Yep,
the
they
one
are.
that owns the Sixers. So he's like,
and he points that out in the interview.
Mm-hmm. And he calls them out on their crap. But he looks at the screen and he gives advice, and it's directly towards Wade. But even though Morrow doesn't know that it's Wade personally or Parsival.
Well, it's because they haven't met.
Yeah. So, but he gives advice and he's like, stay anonymous. You know, don't. You know, just don't come out. Don't show your face. So, and Morrow wasn't surprised. I mean, Morrow was actually, he was surprised that somebody had found and completed the gate, but he says he wouldn't be surprised if more, because one person can keep a secret, but two people keeping a secret is less likely. So he wouldn't be surprised if, you know, before the weekend is up, more people know about where the tomb is located.
Well, yeah, he's expecting there to be more names on that scoreboard within the next few days.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you know, he's probably right, because people just, one person we can keep something quiet, but two or three, it's going to spread. That's how rumors start. So people can't be silent.
So while Wade is watching this interview, you get a little bit of backstory on Morrow this time, and you find out you find out more about his life, where he was married at one point to a woman named Kira. Well, I think her name was Karen or something, and she changed it to Kira,
She did.
from the Dark Crystal. And she was just as nerdy.
Another good movie, by the way.
Yes. A little too scary for the girls, but it is a good movie.
I found the gelfling.
Those things scared me when I was little.
You don't like the Skeksis?
No.
They're cool.
They were creepy. That's the creepiest looking puppets I have ever seen.
Jim Henson was a god. The man is brilliant. Was brilliant.
I take it back. They're the second creepiest puppets I've ever seen. That Tales from the Crypt puppet. That's the worst one.
That again, we're getting sidelined, and I don't mind. You know, that's one of the things that I plan on getting with my Father's Day is the entire series of Tales from the Crypt.
Oh no, I can't watch that. That puppet still freaks me out.
Everybody, Dana's gonna get mad at me, but I have to do it. Tales from the Crypt.
Oh man, whoever was the voice
that
of that
character.
Man.
That puppet was so ridiculous. And look, because I used to watch it all the time. From day one, that used to scare you. We used to have to put you in another room so that I could watch it. We'd have to give you some toys and put you doing something else because you would just sit there and cry.
That thing was creepy. That's the creepiest puppet I had ever seen.
Mama would fuss at me when I put that play in simply because it would make you cry. And I was like, what? I want to watch it. Go play somewhere else. I can't ever watch my show because Dana's crying. And a lot of times I had to turn it off because of you. So that's my Father's Day this year. That's one of the things I'm getting, the entire series. They have it available on DVD, and I'm going to watch it.
Well. So anyways, Kira was actually she became part of Ogden, and she became part of Morrow and Holiday's group of friends a little bit later, and she was the only girl in their Dungeons and Dragons group, and pretty much all the guys were crushing on her. Even Morrow suspects even Holiday had a bit of a crush on her. because he didn't really interact with girls that much. So she also became part of their company, and she was basically their art department for their whole art department until they were able to hire more people. But once she and Morrow got married, then she left the company. Like, she left first. But by that point, that she had made millions of dollars, she wasn't really worried. So she left the company, but mostly because she had just gotten married, and
Yeah.
Morrow ended up leaving the company 5 years later. Now, he left the company because he didn't like what it was becoming. Because, I mean, I don't blame him. Because the Oasis got so big, and he said that it was a self-imposed prison for humanity, which is kind of something that Wade alludes to a few times in the book, about
It's
the
true.
Oasis being like his own chosen prison because the outside world is so bad.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the only reason. Apparently, Morrow and Holiday had a falling out, but we don't even get to see what it was.
No,
They
no,
don't
that
tell
they
us
kept
that.
that private. But I want to go back to something about the and that's a danger of VR type stuff, depending on, because who knows what VR is going to end up being in the next 15, 20 years, which is about the time frame this story is set in. If they end up with something like that, I can see where it's a danger and people are going to have to watch it, because if everyone spends their time in a VR world and that's all everyone's doing to escape the realities and the harshness of what human life has become, all that's going to do is further deteriorate real world life. You have to be outside in the real world fixing all that stuff and not in a video game. So it goes to show you that it's almost like the worst case scenario for what a lot of parents fear today, of their kids just wanting to do video games all the time.
Yeah,
Think
you
about that.
get. Yeah, they're always like, shut the game off, go outside and get some sun. And I get that,
I
I
do.
mean,
I understand it.
because even I played outside when I was a kid, you know, until I got older, and then I stopped going outside
Well, and
eventually.
when y'all were little, we made y'all. We all went outside and did things because we wanted y'all to be outside. But
And
you, from day one, your nose was either in a book or right up against the doggone TV following Barney around on the screen.
okay, yeah, we don't have to talk about that. I remember going outside to play in the park across the street. Okay, I remember that. I
Yeah, you
liked that
did.
little park.
Yeah, we did a lot of that. Like at Fort Polk, we'd go fishing and we'd go play in the little park because there was a pond literally across the street from the apartment complex we lived in, and we'd be able to go fish there and all that. And used to like taking y'all outside and doing that sort of thing. It was always a lot of fun.
So I mean, and video games are awesome. They're a really good way to escape. But this definitely shows how bad it can get. And for some people it does get that bad,
Yeah.
even with what technology we have today. So
So
it's very
anyway,
interesting.
I know that was a sideline thing, but I just wanted to point that out. I mean, it's a bad thing. You have to have a balance. You need to,
Yeah.
sometimes you need to close the book, turn off the computer, and go outside and get some sun, which I know all you psychic vampires hate.
I'll have you know that me and Alex and the girls have been going out a lot more lately. Okay? I've been getting more sun. Thank you very much.
I know y'all have. I see the pictures y'all been posting.
Yeah, because if I don't post any pictures, nobody will believe I went outside. So I have to post proof. So yeah,
I
Morrow
didn't
and
say
Holiday
anything.
have a falling out, but nobody knows what it was about except for Morrow and Holiday.
Yeah.
And so, and people, when Holiday first passed away, and Morrow made a public statement, people asked him if he was going to participate in the contest, and he said that he can't because he worked at Gregarious Games at one point. So anybody who had ever worked at the company or had or
Or their
if you
families.
were, yeah, or their families, you were not allowed to participate in the contest.
Well, and one of the
So
other things that they questioned was if they had had the falling out, why did Halliday leave Morrow his entire collection of video game consoles, or the big upright, the arcade
yeah,
style? He left him the entire collection, and he never was. He didn't answer that.
yeah,
They kept that private.
he's so the whole situation is very private. We also find out in this little background section that Morrow and Kira tried to have kids, but were unfortunately unable to conceive, and then she eventually died in a car accident. Now, um, yeah, I did mention the fact that the two of them, after they left Gregarious Games, they made their own software company that specialized in educational software. And of course, Wade mentions that he played through all of it. He
Yep,
grew up using all of it.
yep.
Um,
Morrow and his wife Kira were Wade's first teachers.
yeah. So after she died, he continued to run the company on his own.
Yep.
And as far as I know, I mean, as far as they mention in the book, he's still running that company himself at the present. So yeah, we get a nice little section on Morrow because he's still alive, and I'm curious as to what their falling out was about, but we may or may not find out later on. Who knows? So Wade finishes watching the interview and he checks his email, and his inbox is flooded
Hey, Mamu,
with
welcome.
flooded with email. Okay, his inbox is completely flooded, but there are only two that he decides to answer, and that's H and Artemis. But he answers H's email first. He was gonna wait. He thought about at first. He thought about waiting to answer H and kind of letting him sit for a little bit, but he wanted to talk to somebody about everything that happened.
Yeah, he's got to share some of the information with someone.
So they they talk. I think it was a phone call or a video call.
Yes, we are actually reviewing Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I know the movie's out, but we're actually doing a book review of it. And tonight we're going over chapters 9 through 20. We've got a previous blog that we have posted on my YouTube page and on my blog site where we covered the first, I think there was two others, where we
Yeah, it was
covered
two of them.
chapters 1 through 8. And this particular one, we're doing a few extra. So this is Ready Player One. Sorry, just had a question in the chat room. So
No, that's fine. It
Dana,
gives me
Dana and I really enjoy doing this. So we both get carried away with this stuff sometimes. We go crazy.
um. So yeah, Wade and H talk, and H isn't mad, because he would have done the same thing as Wade. He would have been extremely secretive and not letting anybody, not letting his friend know. I mean, if H would have been in Wade's position, he wouldn't have said anything either. And
No, they wouldn't.
and in fact, at that moment that Wade and H are talking, H shows him that he is right outside the Tomb of Horrors
Yep.
because he figured it out because I mean, him and Wade have been best friends for a while now.
Yeah, I know.
So,
He thought Wade was going to get upset, and Wade was
well,
like, "No, man, not at all."
yeah, so H figures out that there's only one place the tomb could be because Wade they can't afford to leave the planet. So H was able to figure out where the tomb, and he's so mad that, and we knew it, of course, that the Tomb of Horrors is right outside his school.
I know it's closer to Ace's school than Wade's, but Ace never even thought about finding it. So that's how Ace put two and two together and found the entrance to the Tomb of Horrors, which I thought was really cool. And he actually was worried. That goes to show you how tight they are. He was actually worried that Wade was going to be upset that he used their friendship to figure it out. I'm like, Why would he? He's already got first place. Why would he
Yeah.
be upset anyway? You think you'd
Yeah.
want your friends to do well. Another thing about humanity today, for anyone that may watch this, if you really care about somebody, you don't get upset that they get things and achieve things that you don't achieve. You're happy for them if you really care about them and love them. So
Yeah.
everyone remember that.
Yeah.
That's
You
one of
be
the things I
you're
get upset about. People get mad because Dana gets a writing contract or whatever, and I didn't get one. No, if you care about Dana, you care that she gets a writing contract. If you care about Alex, you care that he got a promotion or gets extra pay for something. The world's not an even place. Be glad for people. Don't be jealous.
don't now come on now. That is like that is completely out of this world. Like I would get a writing contract.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you will.
That's so like
Look,
far fetched.
hey, when I post this thing tonight, I'm gonna put a link out there. If you go to hold on. I'm gonna put a link out here. Here, watch this. Dana has written most of the stuff that's on my blog. You'll see it says it's got her. If it doesn't say Bach Lagore, it's something that she completely wrote. Go check out her writing and tell me how. I know she's my daughter, but I don't care. Her writing is fantastic, and I think she should be writing for a living. Yes, and now she's gonna be mad at me because I just did that.
Well, because like a lot of it is just regurgitated stuff from what is in the book.
But
It's
it's the
just
way
the
you
same.
phrase
It's
it. It's not the same thing. You're putting it in your own words. The way you write it
but
is
yes,
is awesome. And
but
I've read
friends,
your novels. You've shared them with me, even though you haven't published all your novels. They are really good.
you should be
Anyway,
happy for your friends' successes. That is
right, and most
the
people
should
aren't. They're
that's like the
jealous.
number one rule of friendship. Be happy for your friends'
Not even
successes.
friendship, family as well. How many
Well, yeah,
times do
that
family members get mad at each other because one person's got something that the other one doesn't have? That
I can think
doesn't
of a
make
few.
sense. Huh?
I can think of a few people
I know,
actually.
and that doesn't make sense. Chill out and be happy for the people you care about. Anyway,
So yeah, and in fact, before H and Wade hang up, Wade gives him a little tip. He gives him a tip about jousting. He's like, brush up on your jousting skills. So I put it here. He's too on it. He's too nice. He's too nice for this competition because he gave
both
Artemis a tip and now he just gave H a tip.
and both H and Artemis told him they would not do that.
And like, no, you can't
It's a
win
game
like
thing.
this.
That's right. It's about for them. It's about it's the fun of the competition, and you don't help each other out because then think about it. You're always going to second guess. Well, did I really win? I didn't win on my own merit, which is why H thought that Wade might get mad at him because he's not getting it on his own merit. He didn't think of it himself. But
So, and he after he and H hang up, he answers his email from Artemis,
yep.
and they have a little back and forth, and he kind of flirts with her a little bit, but he also makes it seem like he already figured the riddle out,
Which is not true.
which is so not true.
But
But
that's his way of trying to get her flustered and mess her up so that she doesn't figure it out as well. So you
yeah.
could that competition's still going on, boy. They like going back and forth at each other.
So then we get to chapter 13, and H has cleared the first gate, most likely because of Wade's little jousting tip,
Yep.
which Wade kind of questions himself a little bit, like, am I going to regret giving him that tip? Am I going to, like, because, H has the possibility of eventually passing Wade up. But anyway, it doesn't take long for a few other Gunters to figure out where the tomb is and clear the first gate. Those other two Gunters are a pair of Japanese players, Daito and Shoto. And most likely they figured it out because you know that Gunter earlier on in the book, IROC, and his big mouth? Well, he was posting on the forums that he knew Wade and H from the planet, from Ludus, on from the school planet. So, of course, there are other Gunters who are going to figure out, oh, if Wade is, Parzival is from the planet Ludus, this is where the tomb must be,
Right.
because that's where he found, because of everything. So Irok and his big mouth enabled two more Gunters to clear the first gate. So that's the so now we have 5 Gunters on the scoreboard. And Wade, for the next couple of days, has trouble concentrating on his classes because he spends so much time trying to figure out the riddle, but he's kind of hoping that everybody else has trouble figuring out as well. And he's got newfound fame, so he's receiving
You
tons of
think?
emails. He has to sift through so many emails, death threats, Gunters who he said clearly have gone insane from their hunt. Just long texts of insanity. And also invitations for the biggest Gunter clans, and which he turns down because he doesn't want to be part of a clan. He plays solo. He also turned down studios and publishers who wanted to tell his story, but he doesn't want to do that just yet because he wants to actually win the contest first. He's taking Morrow's advice and staying anonymous. So the only thing that he doesn't turn down are those endorsement deals, because he doesn't have to reveal himself for those. And that's how Wade starts earning real world money, which will come in handy, He's like, with that money, I can save up and finally leave the stacks. So he's got a few endorsement deals coming his way. But he also gets emails from that evil corporation, Innovative Online Industries, IOI, the people in charge of the Sixers. So apparently they send him thousands of emails, okay, over the week. Just every few seconds, an email from IOI. And Wade is trying to decide whether he's going to answer it or not, Does he want to meet with the head of operations at IOI? I think it was Nicholas Sorrento, I know the last name is Sorrento.
Yeah, that's right.
So he eventually decides that there's no harm in meeting this guy, as long as he doesn't reveal as long as he doesn't reveal anything. He's like, well, there's no harm in meeting with this guy and seeing what exactly he wants. So he even figures maybe he'll record it and post it on YouTube, which I don't know. Would YouTube really still be around at this point? That far down. YouTube's popularity tends to go up and down.
YouTube is like Facebook. It ain't going anywhere.
I know
I think YouTube's going to be there 20 years from now.
A lot of YouTubers that I watch, they complain about the adpocalypse and not being able to make any money off of YouTube and stuff. But, so I guess we'll see. But apparently in this world, YouTube is still around. It's still alive and kicking. And
it will be.
And he's like, well, maybe I'll record the whole conversation and post it on YouTube and get tons of views. So he responds to his name is Nolan. I actually put the first name, Nolan Sorrento. He actually responds to Nolan's chat link invitation, and he heads out to see what the businessman has to offer. And that's where we get into chapter 14, which is about him meeting this guy. Now, the technology, there are so many descriptions in this book about how the technology works, which I am grateful for, but I also get a little frustrated because that's a lot to remember, you know?
Well, for someone who isn't technical, it would be a lot to remember. So yeah, I can kind of get that. But a lot of the stuff that they've got in here also is theoretical, so it's not completely real. So
Yeah.
they have a way to, chat rooms are possible, but this is an online world that doesn't really exist. So they can take some license and create stuff kind of like Star Trek that isn't quite there yet, but probably will be actually in the next 15 or 20 years.
But
So the chat links are basically a safe zone where you can actually put a copy of your avatar, so there's no danger that it can be harmed, captured, or they get any information out of it. And it's like a neutral place where you can meet to have discussions and meetings and things like that.
yeah, so he can
So
be there without actually like being there.
his avatar can be there, and it's even kind of like partially transparent to the rest of the avatars that are there, so that you can see that it's not really, a completely in that part of the world, because these chat links exist outside of the Oasis.
Yeah. So he heads to the meeting spot with his I guess like his avatar copy, you know. His avatar heads to the meeting spot, and unfortunately, he cannot record. So he cannot get those YouTube views.
Nope.
There's a block. So he also finds out that Nolan Sorrento is already on his way, as if he knew Wade was going to say yes to this meeting. So that just
Actually,
gives off a little little cockiness there.
that's not quite it from the book. I think you might have that one a little bit off. Sorrento is already on the way, which actually means that they were monitoring Wade's activity and they knew Wade had already called.
Yeah, I
It's
guess I
kind of
didn't
like
think about it like
it's
that.
a big brother thing. It wasn't a guess. He knew what Wade's actions were. That's why he was on his way to meet Wade already. And remember,
Yeah.
it's not just Sorrento. It's Sorrento. If he's watching, there's others watching as well. So there's a bunch of people paying attention to this and observing what they're doing right now, which Wade doesn't think about. He needs to. He didn't play all that correctly.
Yeah, because that entire corporation is watching him.
Yes.
They but I
At
didn't
least
think
the
about
brass
that.
of the corporation. Yeah.
So yeah, he meets Nolan, and the first thing he notices is that this guy's avatar is completely different from what Sixers normally look like. The whole Sixer
Yeah.
army have all the same avatar regardless of their real world identity.
hmm
So, but Nolan, I guess, as head of operations and in charge of all of them, he gets to have as his own like personal avatar. But his number is still a Sixer number because it starts with the sixes. And he gets Wade onto a small spaceship and takes him to the actual like planet that IOI has, IOI 1. But this is not the only one. There's like there's these little IOI planets throughout Oasis, you know. But so this is like I guess the first one that Wade gets to go to. And they call it the Sixer homeworld because it's their base of
Right. The
operations.
Gunters call it the Sixer home world.
Yeah. And Wade kind of gets the idea that Sorrento is showing him how how vast their army is, and like look, we have all of these people working for us, and look at how expansive our troops are, and all these high tech weapons and equipment and stuff like that. So I was actually like pretty impressed by how calm Wade was trying to stay. He was trying to keep himself very calm throughout this whole thing.
Well, yeah, because his stomach was turning. He thought it was disgusting the entire time, which is why I wasn't fooled when he was going along with it to make him think like he was going to accept the offer. That didn't. I wasn't fooled for a minute.
Yeah, I was a little bit, because I don't know, when I read, I'm just so used to, him just outright saying no. I'm not used to a character like playing a trick like that, like the main character playing a small trick like that. Usually they're all, no, I'm not joining your evil corporation. I'm not doing this. But Wade was like, throughout the whole meeting, he plays it cool. He sits down. He gets offered the job, this job to be like, a member of the corporation. And they're like, oh, we'll pay for you to move out here to our operations and to where we are located in real life, and we'll pay you, and you'll have you'll have
But that's
everything you
exactly
want.
what a nerd would do.
And
That's what a nerd would do. He'd play it all the way. We have a different sense of humor.
yeah, well, I guess it's because I'm used to reading like these main characters who are very gung ho, and like they'll say no. But Wade is like, okay, sure, I'll agree to this, but here's the thing, I want your job. I want you to be fired. And then like because he knows the bigwigs are watching, and then
And they
Sorrento gets
agreed
the
to it.
call.
But they agreed to it.
Yeah, they agreed to
So
it.
so
Yeah.
Nolan was actually a little concerned and upset, and Wade picked off the fact that he probably had some kind of anger software so that his avatar stayed with a normal look and didn't reflect his true emotions. Because I mean, Wade Nolan got really quiet because he said, "No, they agreed to it. Yeah, I'll be gone." He didn't think Wade was gonna go with everything they were offering that easily.
Yeah,
And ultimately, he ends up being right.
yeah, he actually expected Wade to say no, but when Wade says yes, it just surprises him. And then Wade does say no, and Nolan's like, haha, but I expected you to say no. So here's a second offer that we're putting on the table. And it's like an offer of like enough money to set him up for the rest of his life in exchange for a complete walkthrough of everything that Wade did up until the end of the first gate. Wade says no, but he does consider it for a minute, but he does say no. But then we get hit with this third offer where Nolan just straight up threatens his real life. He's like, well, this third offer is when you don't come back from. If you don't agree, then we're just going to blow up your house. We're going to blow up the stacks.
And to prove that they can, he actually pulls up a video feed that shows his home, along with the infrared video that shows the people living in the trailer, and they assume Wade is in there. They assume Wade is home.
Spot.
Well, they assume Wade is in there. They can't confirm it. They just think he's one of the people that they see highlighted on the heat signature, but they don't realize Wade goes out the back laundry room window, which they hadn't been observing, so he hadn't been home for 3 days. But they think he's home, so they're threatening him with all this stuff, saying, you have no choice. You're going to do it, or we're going to kill you. Period.
Yeah, they
End of
see
story.
the amount of people, and I don't think they realize that it's like different. It's not just one family. It's like 5 or 6 families in one trailer, and they think he's in there just because of the amount of bodies in there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
y'all are so stupid. But he knows he's not there, but he's like, they're not really gonna do this. You're not really gonna kill me over a video game, and Nolan's like, there's more here. There's more at stake here than you realize. And
I think that's the first time that Wade begins to understand that this is more than just a video game contest. There are billions of dollars at stake. And because of that, there are people out there in the real world, obviously, IOI, one of them, willing to kill for that.
So Wade tells them no. He's like, you're going to lose. And then he logs out. He says, "You're going to lose," and then he logs out and he waits. He takes off his equipment, and Wade is sitting there and he's waiting. And then he has a moment of relief because he doesn't hear anything. He's like, "See, I knew it. They were bluffing. They're not gonna do it. They're not gonna really do it." Plot twist.
Yep.
They do it.
He hears the explosion.
He hears the explosion. They killed so many people with that explosion. Not just his aunt, because even though he hated his aunt and her boyfriend, he didn't think that she deserved to die.
She did.
And they also killed his only friend in real life, Mrs. Gilmore, the little old lady that lived in the stacks with him. Just gone like that. And he's like, "What? They really did it. They're not playing around." And he runs out in the open, and he sees the rubble, and people are actually trying to, like, pick everything up and trying to see if there are any survivors, which they're not. And he takes a moment and he realizes, duh, I need to go back to the hideout, because if I'm standing here, there could be an agent trying to see if I'm actually dead. So he hightails it back to his hideout, and he makes sure that he wasn't followed. But everyone that he has known in real life is dead now.
Yeah, but he's actually grieving more over Mrs. Gilmore than his aunt. Even though he didn't feel his aunt deserved to die, Miss Gilmore was a close friend, at least to him, because she was friendly, unlike most people. So he really took that hard. And, I mean, he basically, for several days, stays cooped up in that little van, hidden and in shock and afraid.
Yep, and he decides that as soon as he gets the endorsement money, as soon as that money comes in, he's going to leave. Because he realizes he can't stay there any longer. Not with that corporation, probably, gonna, like, looking. I mean, they probably think he's dead, but he knows now that if he were to be seen and they know that he's alive, they'll do nothing. They will stop at nothing to kill him. So he has to now leave the only home he's ever known.
Yeah.
But first, he needs to talk to H, and he needs to warn him.
Yep. That is correct. So now we're moving on to chapter 15. Hey, Death and Honor, welcome. Appreciate you joining us. We are reviewing and going through Ready Player One, chapters 9 through 20. We're on chapter 15 right now. We're about to kick chapter 15 off.
Yep. Wade puts his headset back on and he logs back into the Oasis, and he talks to H about what happened. And tells him what the Sixers did to Wade's home. And Wade gets the idea that it would be really great to invite the top 5 Gunters to meet in his basement to talk about what happened, because of IOI, had contacted H as well, but he ignored it,
Because he's smart.
So, H invites Daito and Shoto, and Wade gets Artemis to agree. So Wade shows up in H's basement, and H hugs him. He hugs him, even though he can't feel it. It's a virtual hug, but he gives him a hug. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet. And they watch the Oasis news channels, and the Sixers are invading Ludus. Thousands of gunships, just descending upon the planet. And because Gunters see that the Sixers are showing up to the planet, the Gunters know what's up, and they're showing up to the planet. So, the Ludus is getting a little crowded.
Just a little bit. So much so that I think eventually they end up having to move the schools and create a copy of the world and move all the schools without the Tomb of Horrors code that Halliday programmed into it. It gets to be that level so that way they can leave the Sixers and the Gunters to all fight over the first dungeon.
Yep. So Artemis shows up and she tells them that everybody's calling them the High Five because they're the top 5 Gunters. The first 5 Gunters that cleared, that cleared the first gate. H and Artemis kind of hit it off, and Wade gets a little jealous.
Jelly.
And he's like, I don't want them to hit it off. I want Artemis to myself.
He's greedy.
And then Daito and Shoto actually show up, not only proving that they're working together, but that they're brothers. Daito is the older brother and Shoto is the younger brother. And Artemis informs everyone that the Sixers have actually located the tomb. Because before they had just shown up, but they
were searching for the tomb originally at the beginning of the chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, and as actually, well, they found it because what she did was she left like a little uplink hidden camera, so that way she could keep an eye on the tomb itself, and she found out that not only did the Sixers find the tomb, but they put up 2 force fields around it. Because Ludus is not a PvP area, so they can't like put up, their heavy artillery, so they put up shields instead. And to prevent Gunters from entering the tomb. So Wade takes a moment and he tells everybody what happened to him. And of course, he's the only one that had answered the IOI email. Everybody else had received the same emails. They just didn't respond. And they talk, and then the High Five talk for a bit about how they each located the tomb, and that Artemis was the one who had found it first. And then the brothers, being that they work together, you find out that when more than one avatar shows up to fight Acerak, there are apparently copies of Acerak that show up in the tomb as well. So this means that the Sixers can send thousands of their dudes into the tomb to fight Acerak at the same time, because thousands of Acerak copies are going to pop up in the tomb. If so, that doesn't bode very well for the good guys.
No, it does not.
And then Wade explains that it's even worse than just more of them. It's the way the rigs are set up. If they can, like, the Sixers can control each other's avatars, so that way the best of the best can get through the challenges. So, they could have it's kind of like cheating.
Yeah, because the technology that they've developed allows another person with the right skill set to take over your avatar so that you can get through that part of the challenge with the best person possible at the controls, which is cheating. I mean, outright it's cheating.
Yeah,
but there's apparently no way to stop it.
Yeah. So, when the idea of an alliance is brought up, it's shot down immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody agrees that
none of them want to team up.
Yeah, even if they work together, if one of them finds the prize first, they're gonna keep it for themselves. It's not like this is gonna be a team effort in any way. Which kind of sucks because they're the High Five. You kind of want them to work together, but none of them, they don't want to work together, like, at all.
Yeah, but if you think about it in a strange way, they're actually working together anyway. They're meeting, they're discussing it, they're providing each other with information. They may not be directly helping each other in every quest that they go out on, at least not yet, but they're still helping each other.
Yeah, they are, in a way.
That's what it is, yeah.
But
help is help. It doesn't matter what level. Any help is an advantage. They're meeting. They're giving each other an advantage. And they have a certain level of trust with each other, even though it might be minimal. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be in the same room.
I think they at least wanted to see, the other in each other in kind. I say in person, but you know what I mean. They wanted to meet each other.
Inversion.
In person. Oh
That's
my
right. I
goodness!
created a word.
Look at you invented words over here.
They are inversion. That's right.
But Daito and Shoto end up in a little bit of an argument with H, and then they log out.
Yeah, that's right.
Which
I
they
forgot about the argument. Yeah.
and then Artemis logs out after the brothers, but she's on not she's on better terms. It's not like she doesn't argue and leave. She just she leaves, and then H calls out Wade for his crush on Artemis, because H ain't stupid. He knows.
Well, yeah, he sees the googly eyes.
Yeah, he makes fun of him, and
I don't blame him.
then a stack of comic books falls from the coffee table to the floor. Is it a glitch? Is there somebody invisible in the room with them? What was that? And H is like, well, nobody's allowed in the chat room except for whoever he invites. So who is in there?
I think we're gonna find out that someone was in that room.
Someone must have been in that room. And I mean, I'm a little skeptical of H because it's his chat room, but I'm not saying outright that he's probably going to betray Wade at some point, because him and Wade are best friends, and they've proven their friendship to they're just they're best friends.
There ain't nothing wrong with H. H is cool.
But it's like, what was that? Somebody must have been in that room for those comic books to fall.
And now we're in chapter 16 now.
Yeah, and now because of everything that happened, and it's all IROC's fault. He
Big mouth.
The big mouth. He's the reason why everybody is, descending upon Ludus. So now Sixers start showing up on the scoreboard. And Sorrento is the first Sixer that shows up on the scoreboard.
I'm laughing because when you mention IROC, I think about Will Wheaton's pronunciation of poser on the book. He calls him a poseur.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, for the audio version of this book, Will Wheaton, he reads it. He's the narrator for it.
Yeah, I've been listening to the audio version in some cases. And he's pronounced poseur. I thought that was funny.
So yeah, Ludus, we talked about that. Ludus becomes overcrowded to the point where it's disrupting the school. It's disrupting classes. So they end up creating a whole second Ludus planet for the school kids, and just leaving Ludus 1 for the Sixers and the Gunters to fight over the tomb. And the Gunters bombard the force fields. They throw everything they have at the force fields. Until eventually they buy an antimatter bomb off of eBay, and that is what takes down both of those shields, both of those force fields. After that, the tomb becomes completely flooded with Gunters, and the Sixers can't really stop them because it's not a PvP planet.
Hey, Werble, welcome.
So within the next couple of days, the scoreboard just fills up with names.
And it's Sixers, and I find it funny because it wasn't him, but Sorrento's Sixer was the first Sixer to show up on the list, so he's in 6th place. And he didn't have the skills. He didn't have the skills to do that.
Actually, I don't know, because he came off as the way he came off in the book. With his conversation with Wade was, and tried to really convince him to join the company. It kind of seemed like he might have been a bit of a nerd, That's what I felt. So I wouldn't
Yeah,
be.
I know the story, so and I don't want to get ahead of the story, but you'll find out. I don't want to say it, but that's too far ahead.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else had controlled, Sorrento's
Well, that's what
avatar or
Wade
and helped
believes.
him.
So,
Yeah,
regardless of what the reality was at this point in the story, that's what Wade believes. So, Wade's
yeah.
convinced that there's no way Sorrento had that knowledge. So
And of
he's
course,
he's
because he's the boss, he would be the first one to show up, you
yep.
know?
But
Or
he
maybe,
seemed like he had that kind of attitude though. Oh well, I'm the
yeah,
one in charge. My avatar's showing up first.
yeah.
Lead by
So,
example. So you jump in my avatar and you get me up there.
yeah.
I could see that.
So, now in the real world,
Jump to
you
Warble.
know, in the real world, there is barely any coverage on the explosion that destroyed Wade's house. Simply because like IOI is a very devious corporation, so they left drug making equipment, and once the police found that, that was it. They figured, oh, somebody tried to make meth and it got out of hand, and now all those people are dead. So whatever. And because the stacks are such a condensed housing, housing development or whatever, because such a dense housing area, the police didn't even try to clean it up, so they just left the rubble there.
Yeah, because they couldn't get the cranes and all that in, so they're just going to leave the mess. And that's just the sad reality of the times that they're living in. So
So Wade now has
he's
enough
hauling
money.
ass.
Yep, he has enough money now from all of his endorsements to hightail it out of there. He buys a bus ticket and he boards the bus and gets his life in order. He packs up what's most important to him. Now, this bus is like an armored monster. It is a double-decker bus. It is bulletproof. There are guards on the upper deck with guns. I mean, this whole thing is like just a rolling armored defense thing.
Yep,
It's
and it
really
has to be because as they get outside the cities, it's called the Badlands, and it's actually a lawless zone now in the real world. So in the continental United States, outside of the larger cities, there's actually no law. It's just a Badlands, so they have to have an armored, protected vehicle, and the bus actually runs on electricity.
yeah. In
It
fact,
doesn't run
to the
on
re
fuel; it's electricity, so it can only go like 40 miles an hour as its top speed. I remember that. Yeah.
and that's why it takes him a couple of days to get to where he wants to go, which is Columbus, Ohio. So cuz and it takes a while because the bus has to stop and charge at,
Yeah,
intervals.
it does. Now remember though, Wade is comfortable that because of his extra money, he's got a bus ticket, but he's also got a first class ticket, so he's got a bigger seat. He's got a better power terminal to because he's going to basically stay on the Oasis logged in the entire
Yeah.
time for the trip. So
Yeah,
he's going Cadillac style.
these buses are equipped with little Oasis hookups so that people
Yep,
can bring their equipment with them. So even if they're traveling physically, they can still get into the Oasis,
it's
but
commonplace. It's almost like we're getting today where internet is just about available anywhere you go. I mean, it's
that's true.
available on
Even
cell phone. Everywhere I go, I have internet.
I know, and okay,
Whether
so
it's
you know
whether
what's
it's my
really
Kindle
funny?
or my phone, I got internet on both everywhere I
I
go.
When I first got a cell phone, I was all against smartphones. I will be honest, because the
I
first thing,
remember.
remember the first thing I said was, I'm never gonna use the internet on my phone.
And Alex and I both sit back and did.
I am eating my words today
Well,
because now I'm on my phone on the internet pretty often.
that woman in that room that you call your mama, when I started with my one of my, it was actually this was at Fort Polk. This was probably my third or fourth computer at that point. I wanted to get her a computer. I wanted to get her one at that point in time. And she says, I will never get on that crap.
No.
Now she has the computer, the tablet, the
Her
phone,
phone.
a laptop. She's more of a junkie than I am.
It's so funny because when
And she heard
oh
me.
you yell she's yelling, oh, everybody watches my dad get in trouble. She's yelling at you.
I didn't hear what she said. All I heard was the raised voice.
I heard it. Oh my god, that
But
was so
famous
funny.
last words to anyone out there, because she is more addicted than any of us at this point. Let that laptop go down. Let that
But
computer go down and see what's going to happen.
it's just so funny because now I listen to music, I watch YouTube. You know, I'm on the internet on my phone as well as my computer. And I used to actually say I'm never going to use the internet on my phone.
Yep.
I don't need a smartphone. I just want a flip phone. But
So,
no,
so I mean, here he is on a bus, on a electric powered bus, hooked up first class to the Oasis for the entire bus ride to head to his new home.
and the bus is full, but he doesn't plug in right away when he gets on the bus. Everybody else, the second they get on the bus, they plug into the Oasis. Did she text you?
Yes, she did.
I know. Oh my god.
She says, all caps, "You made me that way.
No.
It is not my fault." She's laughing.
But he does. Unlike everybody else on the bus, he doesn't plug in right away. He actually watches as the bus like leaves the only home he's ever known. He watches it disappear in the distance before he plugs into the Oasis. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, think about imagine what that looked like. Everybody else is plugged in and he's just sitting there. So he spends the entire time that he's on the bus setting up the life that he plans on leading when he gets to Columbus, Ohio. He has enough money. He's rich enough. He's not rich, but he's rich enough that he can buy a new identity for himself. He calls himself Bryce Lynch, and he sets up this whole fake identity for when, like Bryce Lynch, is a college graduate. He's worked a few tech jobs and stuff like that, and just this whole background and identity. Even though Wade really is about to graduate high school, he's like a few weeks away from graduation.
Yep, 2 weeks. I think he's 2 weeks out at this point.
And he also ends up renting an apartment in an old Hilton hotel.
And I like the fact that he actually, in the book, takes the time to describe what a hotel was 20 years ago.
I know, right?
I was like, really? That is amazing.
I thought that was pretty cool. He does
I thought so too.
A few times in the book where he describes what it was like, and I'm sitting here like, but that makes you think. That makes you think, like, what is going to be like for us, like, down the line. Are people going to see the technology that we used, and what are they going to say about it? They're going to see the houses we lived in, and what are they going to say about it? Like, how much is going to change in that time, and what they're going to think about us, or how they're going to describe our livelihood, our lives and stuff.
I mean, think about it. I mean, you and your generation, y'all about to be the 30-something crowd, okay?
Yes.
Honestly, you don't remember a time without the internet. You don't know what life is like without the internet. I do.
Because I remember when I was a kid, you had this clunky old machine, and you were talking to me about this guy that you were talking to all the way in Egypt and how fascinating that was.
Yep.
So I grew up with always a computer in the house.
That's exactly right. And I didn't, I grew up where we had telephones, and you didn't even have a private phone number. It was a party line. When you picked up the phone, you had to wait for everyone else in the neighborhood to finish their conversations before you could make a phone call. Because you could literally pick up the phone, which, again, when I was little, that was a pastime. pick up the phone and listen to somebody's gossip because it was a party line. Everyone in the neighborhood was on the same phone line.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because
Yeah.
by the time I got older, the landlines were a bit more secure, you know?
Yeah, you had individual numbers, but I mean, like 1923 was the last four of our phone number, and that's all you had to dial. But
It
when
was
you
three,
picked,
it was like
but when you picked it up,
560?
no, I'm talking about when I was little. When
Oh,
I would
okay.
pick up the phone, you had to wait for everyone in the neighborhood to finish their conversation to make a phone call. You could sit there and you say, "Okay, just let me know when you're done. It's my turn next." You find out who was on the phone because you could hear everyone's conversation.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
No way. See, by the time I got older, I remember us having a landline and our own phone number and, friends
yeah,
calling, or the few friends I had calling. And, you know, I remember that. So it's so crazy, how things change and like what people are going to think about what we're going, like our life now, what people in the future are going to say about it. So it's so cool to see Wade actually talk about hotels
well, and
and like
hotels, and
the
then he's like you were saying, he's a bit nostalgic because he's watching the city he was born in disappear into the sunset as he begins his new life, going to a new home because he's actually moving to Columbus, Ohio. So he's making a new life for himself because now
yeah,
his full time focus is going to be hunting for the egg.
yeah, that he decides to completely dedicate. He is shutting himself off from the outside world.
Yep,
He gets to his apartment and it's so cool. He's like, you could still see the old faded Hilton like logo.
on the
And so
building.
he's moving into an apartment that was actually a hotel room in the Hilton Hotel.
Yep, and now we're on
And
chapter 17. Now, the way this starts out is hilarious.
oh
The
yeah, the
the
little
the
conversation
flirt.
between Wade and Artemis.
Yeah,
Um that the first couple of pages in 17 is a whole text conversation between Wade and Artemis, and he's trying to find out more about her, but she's so reluctant to reveal anything. But he is like, he is desperate. He wants information,
yeah.
and
So
it's so cute how he's
he
trying.
ends up getting into this thing where they each ask each other questions. They get to the point where they lay down some ground rules, and they each get to ask a question and provide an answer.
So he gets to find out that she's a year older than him, and she's in college for poetry and creative writing. Like this is a girl after my own heart here.
I mean,
Okay.
she could have been you.
Like and apparently her avatar has blue eyes and brunette hair. This the like well her real life her physical form has the same color hair and eyes as her avatar is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So he's wondering if maybe she looks like that in real life. And I have a feeling she does, but I don't know. But I mean, if she's got her hair and her eye color the same, then the rest of her might be the same too. But she keeps denying it. She's like, I'm so much uglier in real life. You don't know me. And he's like,
Yeah, she thinks
but
she's
I do.
hideous.
Yeah. And so they go back and forth. Um, she she asks him how long have you known H, and he's like, oh, I've known him for a while. I just find it weird that she wanted to ask him about H, but I guess looking at it now, that we've been talking about it, maybe she's just trying to see if they're working together.
I think that's exactly what it is. She's just trying to see, can she really trust both of them, and are they working together against her? If they're each on their own, I think she'd probably be a little bit okay with it. But if it's her against the two of them, she probably feels like she wouldn't be able to outwit both of them together.
Yeah, so she does ask him about H, and at first I was like, well, maybe it's because she knows something and she hasn't said anything. But no, I think she's just trying to find out if they're working together
Yep.
to see what she might be up against. Um, so after this, she actually, she tells him, we need to focus on the hunt. So
Yeah, she wants
She's
to
like,
cut it off. She wants to stop. Yep.
yes. And he's like, well, what do you get? What if I just, what if I message you anyway? She's like, well, I might just block you. So he starts off slow at first. He sends her like one message every now and then, but it increases, and over time they start talking a little bit more, and they actually start calling each other a little bit more. And she's reluctant at first because she's working on the riddle, but so during this time, Wade graduates from high school. He does not attend the rest of his classes. Moving and everything, he doesn't he doesn't want to risk going back to school, but he had enough credits to graduate anyway, so it didn't matter that he missed the last 2 weeks of school. So he ends up getting his little diploma, and
They sent it to him via email. They sent his physical diploma to his old address in the stacks, but he's going to lose that. He doesn't know what happens to it because he doesn't live there anymore and it's been destroyed. So that's out of the question.
yeah. And at this point, Wade's barely even focused on the main quest.
And he starts to realize that.
Because him and Artemis start hanging out together. They start talking more. He starts leveling up his avatar. Actually, he spends a lot of time hanging out with Artemis and leveling up his avatar.
Mm-hmm.
He does figure out half of the riddle about like Captain Crunch, because the way, and I love Captain Crunch, but like my favorite cereal is the cookies and cream Oreo cereal, and my second favorite is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So Captain Crunch is like, third.
One of my favorite cereals is Captain Crunch's Peanut Butter Crunch.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You also love Count Chocula though.
Oh yeah. Oh,
but
those two are at the top.
Once a year. That only comes out once a year.
Well, now it does, yeah. But yeah, that I like those two, and I like the Reese's Peanut Butter Crunch cereal too. That's also good. But now to add to that, just so that everyone knows, again, not related to the podcast, but Cheerios has a chocolate peanut butter crunch flavored one that is fantastic.
Oh really?
Oh, it's off the chain. It's very good. But anyway.
But yeah, anyway.
Enough about my cereal finish.
But that's the thing with books like this. It makes you like think about. It's very nostalgic.
This book definitely is.
But he does figure out half the riddle, but he starts slacking off, and he figures everybody else is having just as much trouble as him because nobody else has figured it out yet either. But more and more people have cleared the first gate, and so a lot of people have the riddle now. The clue to the second gate. So he slacks off because he thinks, "Oh, I got this made. I'll figure it out. I'm gonna level up my character and spend time with my pseudo girlfriend."
Yep.
So because of this, H and Wade start hanging out less. Because Wade is so obsessed with Artemis. I mean, she's awesome. I can't blame him for that. But at the same time, he's ditching his best friend pretty often to go hang out with Artemis. And they kind of start dating, going to really cool places and Oasis and spending time together, and Wade feels pretty untouchable. He feels, because Artemis expresses concern, like, "Oh, you're famous Gunter. What if the Sixers find you?" And he's like, I'm good. I'm 99th level now, bruh. I can do whatever I want." Well, not quite there. He's not quite there yet, but he's high enough level now that he could take on high level people. But one of their dates, they go to the planet Transsexual, which is an entire planet dedicated to the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yay!
And they participate in the festivities, and where they're both dressed up as characters. Like, he's dressed up as, his avatar is Meatloaf, and hers is the Columbia. Is that the name of the other character?
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's not one of my most favorite movies, but I will say Tim Curry does an amazing job in that movie.
That movie is awesome.
And Wade gets his first kiss. Kinda. His
He
first
doesn't
virtual
feel it,
kiss.
but it still makes him feel all warm and toasty.
All warm and toasty, and he's pretty sure that he's in love with her now. He's like, I'm in love with her. So even though he doesn't know her in real life, he's fallen pretty hard. But it will lead him to make a decision. I don't know how to word it. The way he says it, he regrets like what happens next. Basically, he regrets what happens in chapter 18, and chapter 18 is about a birthday party. Basically, while Wade is trying to research on the riddle, like he's doing research on the riddle, he receives a birthday invitation from none other than Ogden Morrow. Which I'm not surprised. I mean, he's the first Gunter to ever beat the first gate, so.
Well, Ogden's going to obviously invite the High Fivers to his birthday. They're the most popular characters in the Oasis, which means they're the most popular people worldwide, pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
and this is a pretty important event because Morrow doesn't go out much in the real world.
But he plans on celebrating, I think, his 70th birthday?
Yeah. And that's pretty much the only day of the year that his avatar shows up in the Oasis is on his birthday. So to get an invitation to this party is like really exclusive.
Yep.
And I put a description of the invitation because I thought that was pretty cool. So Morrow's avatar is also a wizard. Like Holiday's avatar was the wizard Anorak. Well, Morrow's avatar is a wizard that he calls the Great and Powerful Og. And the invitation is a picture of him hunched over and over some turntables, with the headset, trying to like DJ. And all I thought about at that moment was like Gandalf DJing over some mixtapes, trying to DJ. That's what I thought.
That's way too cool.
So Wade gets in contact with Artemis, and of course she got an invitation too, so the two of them are going to meet up at the party. Wade is not sure if the others are going to show up. He doesn't think that well, actually he is sure. He thinks that the others are not going to show up, simply because H has a death match on that night that he's going to go to, and because the planet the party is being held on is a PvP zone, the brothers are not gonna show up.
Yeah, right.
Because they don't go in a PvP area unless it's absolutely necessary. And I think I would really like this planet because it's called Neo.
It sounds cool.
It's a whole cyberpunk planet, and I love cyberpunk.
Neo-noir, yep.
Yeah, neo-noir, and the club is called the Distracted Globe. Like my brain. The Distracted Globe.
Why do you make things so easy for me?
I'm sorry. It's just like, this whole planet caters to me, okay?
Come on now.
I make it easy. I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
But anyways, so Wade... Now, I typed these words down, but I have no idea what they are. He dresses up in a suit, the same suit that Peter Weller wears in Buckaroo Banzai. I do not know what any of that is. I don't know who Peter Weller is, and I don't know what Buckaroo Banzai is. So he dresses up in the same suit as Peter Weller, and he equips him. He grabs a bunch of like armor and weapons in his inventory because it's a PvP zone, and he's a high level person, so he's like a high profile character. So he's got to bring some protection to this place.
I'll text it to you later, and I'm gonna put the YouTube video.
So he shows up to the party in this decked out DeLorean. And I say decked out because it's got like Kit from Knight Rider as the computer system in the car itself. He's got the Ghostbusters logo on it. You know, this thing is decked out. Okay. And he doesn't park it. He actually uses a shrink spell to shrink it small enough to put in his pocket.
He's smart.
Because he knows if he leaves it, some hacker or some, other gunter is going to come along and jack his shit.
That's
So
exactly right. He's a smart guy.
so he
Well, he's top level now, so he's got all kind of skills.
yeah.
And in just the short time that he's had the DeLorean, he's only had it for a couple of weeks. It's already become his signature vehicle.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot to put that. That's his signature vehicle. That's so if everybody knows that that's his, his car.
Yep, he's got it modified to. He put a little dashboard to make it sound like Kit from Knight Rider. He's got a couple of
The Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters logos on the outside, on the doors. I mean, it's pretty sweet.
So as he's going up to the club, there are avatars that are like harassing him a little bit, but nobody actually ended up taking. He thought he activated his shield because he thought, somebody might take a shot at me.
Yeah.
But he was lucky enough that nobody actually tried to take a shot at him. But he does get death threats and insults, and people want his autograph and professions of undying love. Because, fangirls. And this club is cool because it's a globe. It's called the Distracted Globe. So it's a giant sphere. It's a giant blue sphere, okay? And in the middle, you have R2-D2 DJing.
That is so cool.
And
enough said. That's it. R2 is mixing it up. R2 is mixing it up.
I mean, it's a sphere, but like the bottom part, it doesn't have a floor. It's all 0G, and your avatar just kind of like floats around it. So, and you have like R2-D2 in the middle DJing, and he runs into Artemis, and she's all dressed up, in her little blue dress, and her hair is a little different, and they get some drinks, and then Morrow shows up. R2-D2 disappears, and Morrow shows up in his place, and he gets the party started. So yeah, this is when everybody starts dancing. Wade and Artemis float up to the dance floor, and Wade is hesitant at first. He's not a dancer. But I think Artemis kind of gives him the little push that he needs. And he has some software that he downloaded to help his avatar out called Travolta. Like, I was like, really?
Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Ha, staying alive, staying alive. That's right.
I was like, really? Are you serious?
And I was like, yeah.
No. Oh,
damn,
man.
Skippy.
And you've got like Artemis shape-shifting into like a mermaid, and doing all these different cool moves. So Wade ends up like, I don't know, it's like mirror partner or something like that, and then he starts doing the same moves as her, and then pretty much everybody starts shape-shifting, and the middle of the dance floor looks like a freaking lava lamp. Like, that is a trip right there, okay? If you're sitting
That sounded amazing.
Watching all of this go down, you'd be wondering if somebody had spiked your drink. But
oh, we'd be hoping somebody had. That's half the fun.
so then Morrow puts on Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper, and things get romantic.
That's an amazing song.
I love that song.
I do too. That song is amazing.
things get romantic. So, of course, that's when Wade just busts out with "I love you" on the
Idiot.
dance floor. And then there goes the entire night, basically. Because the second he does that, she switches them over to their own little private voice channels. That way they're still dancing, but nobody else can, like, hear what they're saying to each other. And she's all, "You don't love me, you don't know me in real life, it's an illusion." And he's all, "But I do love you, I love you no matter what you look like in real life." And she's like, it's a little rough, basically, because "But what about the hunt?" And "I don't care about the hunt, I just care about you." And things get really dramatic because he's like crying. And yeah, he's willing to abandon the quest just for her, but she has some world-changing plans, the kind of plans that would do some good. So she's like, "No, I'm sorry." And just as she's about to say something that kind of looked like, like goodbye, the roof, like, busts open.
Yeah, chunks of the roof start falling because the Sixers have invaded, or
Sixers.
As the Gunters call them, the Suxers.
The Suxers crash the party. Just bust right through. So half the party goers leave, and the other half take out weapons and
They
start
all
casting
brought their shit. Yep,
spells,
they start the fight.
which I think is pretty cool. Like, they're all throwing, they're casting spells or shooting lasers, and you know, but nothing is as cool, because it doesn't last long. But nothing is as cool as when Morrow gets up and he's got these lasers that come right out of his fingertips, and he's like, "You're crashing, like, how dare you crash my party?" And he just destroys all of the Sixers in seconds.
Yep, one
Like,
shot.
what?
But you got to
What?
remember, he programmed this club. He still owns it to this day. It's his club inside the world. So,
Yep.
and he's a programmer, so he's got mojo.
Like, "Not in my house. You're not doing this. You're crashing my birthday party." So he destroys all of them in seconds, and then it's like, "All right, let's get back to the party." And the party goes back to normal. So for about like 5 or 10 minutes there, things were a little dicey. And then when the people go back to dancing and Morrow's back to DJing, Artemis leaves. And she looks at Wade one last time before she exits out of the ceiling. So, I know, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Is it over for them? Is
And
this
that
it?
takes us to chapter 19, which the
Yep.
last two chapters were pretty short, actually.
Yeah, because chapter 19 as a whole just covers what Wade's life is like in the real world. You know?
Yeah,
Because
all the latest of the high tech gadgets. Let's see, I think he's got like a fiber connection straight back to the Oasis mainframe. You know, just all kind of stuff. He's very well protected. Like when
mhm.
he orders food, they have to deliver it to a specific. They put it in the door. It gets checked, and then he can finally open it up when it's safe. The whole
Mhm.
9 yards, and I mean, just the latest of everything. Literally, he does not have to leave his apartment if he doesn't want to.
Yeah, he spray painted the windows black so he
Yeah,
wouldn't even have to look outside.
that's exactly right. I mean, it's really wicked.
It's wicked, but it's also depressing. Cuz he does not leave his house at all. Like, he does not leave that apartment at all.
But in the
He
position he's in, that's probably a smart thing because he's
Yeah,
protected.
and it's not like he has to, because he basically um he has everything he needs. Like, he even has his setup where he's got a chair, okay, but the chair morphs, and he's also got this treadmill under, like, at the bottom, so that way he can move around. Like, his setup is so advanced. He's got like this suit that allows him to feel like if his avatar gets shot or if his avatar like hurts himself, he feels it. And he's got a treadmill, so that way if he wants to get a little bit of, if he wants to get a little exercise, he's able to stand up and the treadmill morphs. So if he's walking upstairs, it changes to make him like walk upstairs. It's very advanced.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool.
And what I got out of the chapter is that like he, for a while he gained a lot of weight and he wasn't happy with himself. So he installed software so he could lose weight, and now he's like lost weight. So he like gained he gained weight and then he lost it. You know, because I do not this software that he installs into his Oasis system sounds like a nightmare. Okay? Because he's not allowed to log in unless he completes his workout routine. Even if he wanted to avoid the workout routine, he would have to jump through all kinds of hoops and pretty much get a whole new identity and a whole new set of software to play the game. That is ridiculous.
That's commitment right there. Forced commitment.
Yeah, because, oh, and he even, his whole body is shaved. His whole body is hairless, simply so that he doesn't have to take time out of his day away from the game to shave.
Smart guy.
So he can just focus on the hunts. I also mentioned like he got a special kind of doll. This is really awkward to talk about.
You could have skipped that part.
But anyways, so there's some technology.
He's got a friend.
Yeah, but he gets rid of that to get this digital friend named Max, which I don't get that reference. I don't know who Max was. I never saw that show.
Well, there's two pieces. There is Mad Max and the Thunderdome, the movie. And when it comes to a digital pet or friend, there was the old Max Headroom.
Yeah, I think that's what he was referencing, the Headroom, because this AI he has installed into his Oasis system is kind of like I think of him as kind of like Bob to Dresden, and that's what Max
it's close.
Wade.
It's close, yeah.
Because even though Max is an AI, he's an advanced AI, so he kind of like has this little repertoire with Wade, and Wade is he gets a little annoyed, but he actually loves it because he hasn't been hanging out with H much, so he gets that friendship from the AI, Max.
Yep.
So
it was a TV series from 87 to 88. It was only about a year long. But yeah, that's an old show. I remember old Max Headroom.
So that's what he installs into his Oasis system, is kind of like his, like his Jarvis from Iron Man.
Yeah. Or Bob from Dresden Files. That's right.
So yeah, he has this lockout software installed where he has to exercise and get a certain bit of calories, and he doesn't cook it all for himself. He has everything delivered to him, or he microwaves it. And so that's what I like about this chapter, is that it shows like his life, and he understands. He's actually very much aware of how pathetic, in a way, his real life is.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, you're right.
He's actually because there are some people out there who are not aware, of that about themselves. But he is very much aware that he knows how bad his real life is.
Yeah.
And how like sad it is that he's living this way. But when he gets into the Oasis, he's practically a god because of all that he's accomplished in the game. You know?
Yep.
And I mean, you've seen he's gone through a lot of physical and emotional changes, because now he's even very depressed because he's, because he doesn't have Artemis and he doesn't get to see H that much. But you see that his password has changed for when he logs into the Oasis, because now his password is no one gets what they want, and that is beautiful, which I thought was interesting because it kind of matches what he's going through.
Yeah, it is. It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Or kind of like what anybody else is going through in the real world, because everybody's going through, trouble and trauma and things like that.
And remember, it's all the stress is all self-generated. Typically, it's not usually as bad as you feel like it is, but because it's affecting you directly, you feel it more than anyone else. So your perception is, even though your perception for you is very real, it's probably not really as bad as you make it out to be. Most people fall in that category. So yeah, yep, and we're on the final chapter now that we're covering tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's 40 chapters, and we are actually on chapter 20.
Yep.
He logs into the Oasis, and he has a stronghold now. A stronghold located on his own little asteroid.
That is so cool.
So
that is really cool.
He can't so the Sixers still can't really get to him, and nobody can enter his stronghold unless he gives them permission. And he called it Falco, which was it an Austrian band?
Mm-hmm. I think it was Austrian.
Yeah, I've never heard of them or listened to them. But...
And just so you know, we have Death and Honor, Electrical Skateboard, Cannabis, Technical 13 Trilogy, and Whirlwind watching. Thanks for tuning in, folks. For anyone that's just recently tuned in, we are on the final chapter that we're going to review tonight in Ready Player One by Ernest Cline.
Yep.
Book review.
So apparently Election Day in the Oasis is the same as Election Day in the real world. And Wade doesn't care about real world elections. I mean, honestly, at this point, who would care about the real world elections because of how badly their world has gotten, So Wade votes in the Oasis elections. Now, I don't know who Cory Doctorow is, but I definitely know who Will Wheaton is. And those
Yeah, I have to admit, the Cory Doctorow, I'm not familiar. Let's see if I can look it up real quick.
That's who Wade votes for as president and vice president of the Oasis User Council. Now, I wrote, I wonder what Will Wheaton would think of being mentioned in the book, but that's because I had forgotten that he actually was the narrator for the audiobook, so I'm pretty sure he's, he thinks it's cool or something.
Probably so. Cory Doctorow is a science fiction novelist, blogger, and technology activist. He's the co-editor of the popular weblog called Boing Boing. He's a contributor to many magazines, websites, and newspapers. So apparently he is a Canadian-British blogger who has earned a certain level of fame. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know who he was either.
So apparently him and Will Wheaton were running for president and vice president of the Oasis User Council. So that's who Wade votes for. And we also see that GSS, Gregarious I always forget what the other. I just call it Gregarious Games because that's what they were originally
It's
called.
Gregarious Simulation Systems, I think, is the name
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Well, they added a new feature to for Oasis users, which is basically everybody can have their own channel now. So everybody can broadcast whatever like shows or whatever they want over from their accounts.
So instead of Nickelodeon, you can have Vlodian.
Yeah.
Vlodian. That would be mine. I've already claimed the
Um,
name. No one can have it. Vlodian is mine, and I will have my own cheesy sci-fi channel.
why would you call it Velodian then? Why not just call it you know, I can't think of anything.
Vlodian,
Uh
because it's virtual.
oh, virtual. Okay.
Vlodian.
Velodian.
That's exactly right. And guess who my full-time programmed host is going to be?
Who?
Your buddy from the crypt.
I would not watch your channel at all. Not at all.
Welcome to Vlodian.
So anyway, Oasis users can now have their own channels and can stream whatever they want on their channels. And of course, Wade Parsival, his channel is the most famous because of who he is.
I believe it.
So he's got lots of people watching his channel, especially Gunters, who are gullible enough to think that he would put any clues on his channel. Wade does. He mentions that he just puts random stuff. He does not have a programming schedule or anything. He just puts whatever he feels like on his channel. So all those Gunters are wasting their time watching his channel for clues on the riddle. But anyway, that's kind of also how he makes money. Sponsors will pay him to air commercials on his stream. So
Well,
that's
yeah, and I'm
kind
sure he's making a pretty penny because if he's got the most popular channel that's out there, they're going to pay a premium because there's more viewers that they're going to reach. Their marketing audience is even greater. So yeah,
yep. And of course, Wade always has one of his screens on Artemis's channel
he is so pathetic.
because even though they haven't spoken in weeks, he's still going to watch her channel.
That's right. They hadn't spoken since the birthday party. So yeah,
And she streams a lot of like girl power type shows like Wonder Woman and, just I would imagine that she probably also streams like Xena Warrior Princess and stuff like that. I love that show.
I would do the Yelp, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, don't. We all want to keep our eardrums.
Yeah, because it is loud.
I will be honest. I actually used to do that Yelp when I would play party games with everyone growing up. So, so
Anyway,
anyway, they haven't spoken since Morrow's birthday party. Now, Wade tried to win her back, and he did all the cheesy things possible. Okay, he sent her flowers. He bombarded her with mixtapes. He even did the little boom box thing outside the window. Okay, everything. But she did not respond to him at all.
and he's so goofy, she probably wasn't even home when he stood outside her window.
Yeah, she was probably out doing what he should be doing, which is figuring out
Figuring out the next
riddle.
puzzle. And I think we're about to find out maybe that might be what she was partially up to.
Yeah, so he tries moving on. His avatar is now at max level. So he's because he did a lot of different quests and he got some items, anything to distract himself from his loneliness. He tried to reconnect with H, but that fell apart. They got into an argument. So at this point, Wade has lost his two best virtual friends. What were you going to say?
I don't remember.
You said something when I mentioned about him, anything to distract himself from being lonely. You're about to say something.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's what most people do. That's why a lot of people are on the internet. But for me, it's actually the opposite. I do it because of the social interaction with everybody. The more people in the chat room talking and asking questions, the more fun I have.
You've always been a social butterfly.
I wouldn't say a butterfly. Why you gotta go? Why you gotta say it like that? Ain't no butterfly.
Anyway,
You psychic
anyway,
vampire.
I'm not a psychic
Yes, you
vampire.
are. You know you are.
I've been getting sun lately, okay? I've actually
You're
been
a
going
psychic
outside.
vampire. You suck the life out of the room.
Anyway, anyway, he tried to reconnect
Whatever.
with Ace, but they got into an argument, and they haven't spoken since that argument. So then Wade went to do a quest, and this quest happened to be a Japanese quest. So he invited Daito and Shoto to accompany him on the quest, which they did. And so he kind of is on good terms with them. In fact, at the end of the quest, a really rare artifact dropped, and the three of them were deciding what to do with it. And he basically just told them that they could have it because it was part of their culture. So he was like, "Well, you guys can have it. It should be in your hands."
Yep, it was Japanese in nature. What it did was, I don't remember if it was a pair of gloves or a cloak, but it allowed an avatar to become the most powerful Japanese warrior one time per day for about 3 to 5 minutes. And to
Yeah,
honor them because they're Japanese, he said it really belongs in the hand of someone Japanese. So that got him a ton of respect from
yeah,
from from Daito and Shoto.
which which is a good thing because that might come in handy later.
Yeah.
He just basically gained a little bit of a. I mean, his reward was that if his reward from that interaction was better than the artifact itself.
Yep.
So that might come in handy later. You never know. Um, we also, towards the end of the chapter, we find out that Wade, as Bryce Lynch, has a job for Oasis technical support.
That's right.
His, but he calls it his own personal hell. But so he's not having any fun with that. But that's, I mean, but he mentions that he makes money with the commercials and the endorsements, but it's not enough really for his online and offline expenses. Because he has offline expenses like, juicing up his rig and things like that, and food and bills. But he also has like online expenses for his, because apparently all of his virtual vehicles need maintenance. So he has to pay for all of that. He just like if you were to pay for maintenance on your vehicle in the real world.
So when it comes down to it, even though he's first place, it basically just got him out of the streets and the slums. He's got a regular job, regular apartment, and this is a 40-hour a week full time job. Yeah. So being
And
number
he's
one ain't always the best, is it? You still got to have a damn job.
so yeah, it's hell for him to have to
Yeah.
work that
Yeah,
job.
it
He
is.
hates it. So during one of those
But it
days,
pays the bills. Something you got to have something to be able to make the bacon.
and it figures, he's been so distracted and he's kind of getting lost in the day to day with his job that he hasn't been focused on the riddle. And at the
Nope.
end of one of his shifts, he gets the news: Artemis found the next key. So, what does this mean for him? I guess we'll have to find out and see next time.
Yep.
You
That's it
know,
for tonight, folks. That was a ton of fun.
my favorite chapter is the birthday chapter. The birthday party was pretty cool. I love that planet. I think that would be one of my favorite planets to visit if I were to play the game.
My favorite part so far of between 9 and 20 is the basement meeting of the high fivers. That to me that was my favorite part so far.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool too, because
And
you
and
get to
I'm
see the
hoping
first meeting.
yeah, and I'm hoping it's a prelude of better things to come for the group. So
I know. I really, I hope that the High Five reunites.
I
That's
think
a
they will. I think they will.
like you watched the movie, and how different so far is the movie from the book? You don't have to give any spoilers, but like how different so far? Because you've seen the movie and I haven't.
Well, Mama's been kind of listening to some of the audio book with me when we're doing stuff around the apartment, and so far I think we're of a different opinion. I need to rewatch the movie because, as far as I'm concerned, what I remembered about the movie, the book is completely different.
Yeah.
It's like they took a lot of licenses of, and I think it's because a lot of things that happen in the book, even though we've got CGI and all that stuff, they couldn't translate it into the movie. So there's some differences, but they're both excellent. But the book to me is just 1,000 times better. I can get lost in the book itself. It's amazing. The movie
Yeah.
it's good if you want to get the gist of the story in 2 hours. But you want the real deal? Read the book. Read the book. You want the
And
real
if you
deal? Read the book.
and if you haven't like seen the movie yet or read the book, see, I like to read the book first before I watch the movie, but I would kind of suggest see the movie first and then watch and then read the book.
I'll be honest with you. If I would have read the book before I saw the movie, I would hate the movie. But because I saw the movie first, the movie's okay.
You see, for me, I like to know the story before I watch the movie, but I never really, but like I've grown up, seeing all of my favorite books get turned into movies. And so at this point, I kind of view the movie as its own entity.
They kind of are. That's exactly right.
So it doesn't
It's a
bother
good
me.
approach.
It doesn't bother me that much if it's different from the book, but there are a lot of people out there who feel differently. So if you're gonna do one before the other, see the movie first before reading the book, because then the movie will disappoint you.
It shouldn't be too much longer. Yep, it's supposed to. The DVD is July 24th. That's the release date.
I'm probably just gonna get it because, I mean, I love the book, so I'm probably just gonna end up buying the movie anyway.
Oh wow! I can pre-order it already on Amazon. Comes out July 24th. I can actually pre-order it
You
already.
notice, like, movies are coming out a lot faster these days.
Yeah.
Especially like the digital versions, you can get the digital versions usually first before the physical copy comes out.
Well, actually, if you go on iTunes, there's some cases where you can actually watch the digital version while it's still in theaters for some of the movies, because we've done that. Yeah, we've actually done that. There are some movies that were still in theaters, and we were able to watch them through iTunes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. But that's going to be it for tonight, everyone. We definitely appreciate it. If we can make it work out, we cannot guarantee it. We may actually live stream together from Dana's house next weekend.
Yeah.
So-
And we'll do the last what was it, last 10 chapters? Yeah.
No, there's 20
no,
chapters left.
20 chapters.
I don't know if we'll get all 20 done, but we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to tall order. We'd have to get the blog ready and everything this week. And if we did that and finished it by Friday, we could have it completely ready. It's not impossible, but
So,
I mean, it took us 2.5 hours to do 12 chapters.
whew.
I don't know that we're going to have that much time with all of us there next Saturday to be able to do this, but we're going to
Yeah,
try.
Yeah, we usually we just do 4 chapters at a time and it takes us an hour. But this time we did 12 and
Took us 2.5
took us-
hours.
yeah.
So we'll see what comes up next weekend, but we thank everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I hope everybody has a good week.
Same here. Good night, everyone.
Good night.